Welcome to Brothers-In-Flaw Sports. I'm your host, Normie, and we have our other host, Cunado. Our bottom tonight is on a work trip, so he will not be here, but he possibly will be in the chat. Cunado, how you doing?
I'm doing just fine, Normie. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good, a lot of crazy stuff going on. I know later on we'll get to talk about some UFL, which I'm super excited about, that being back. But
I'm excited to talk with you about that because you are the show's expert on that, and I would like to get caught up.
okay, I can
And it
definitely do
kicks
it.
off this weekend, so I mean, no better
Yep.
time.
Yep, no better time. But first off, there is a lot of men's basketball going on. There's this little thing, what's that thing called again? Something like March something, maybe March Madness.
Oh,
So
yeah, I guess
that
people
thing,
care about that.
yeah, some people do.
I like to call it Heartbreak City, which sucks because it came on the heels of my Rams losing Aaron Donald to retirement, and once again, kisses to you, buddy. All the roses, you deserve it. I don't know if you got to watch much of that last week, normally, but it was heartbreaking.
Yeah, I
And
bet.
then we signed Jimmy Garoppolo, and that just seemed like a real kick in the guts while I was already down.
Well, luckily he'll be delegated to the backup position.
Yes, yeah. I mean, Matty Stafford will still be there and it's only a 1 year contract, and we need a good backup, and he is a good backup. He's a very serviceable backup, borderline starter at times, but
Yeah.
um, but then I was psyched for this March Madness as an Auburn fan. I was so pumped, and we lost to Yale in the first round, so it really took the wind out of my sails. I've recovered. It literally took me until like today. It took me basically a full week to come to terms with it. I really thought that we had a good chance of moving at least to this weekend, and us
I
we would be in San Diego State spot playing UConn.
in
Um,
my bracket, I had them beating UConn in the Sweet 16. And
it
then
was
losing in the, Elite 8, but I had them making it all the way to the Sweet 16, and but that was such a crazy game because I watched most of it, and then I had to go with about 2 minutes left, and it seemed like, they were swapping baskets back and forth, but that Auburn was still kind of in control, so I thought, "Okay, this is probably gonna be, fine," and then I went and checked it later. It was like, "Holy crap, they actually lost."
Yep, that's well. Unfortunately, I can't call myself a true Auburn fan right now, as far as that goes, because I was psyched for that game, but it'd been a bit of a long day, so I watched like most, if not all, of the first half. Fell asleep and woke up with like 5 or 6 ish minutes to go in the second half, and I woke up just in time to start throwing stuff around my living room. uh,
I
one of our
bet.
one of our local radio hosts. I'll go ahead and give him a shout out. The next round, radio host. It's a YouTube streaming channel as well. So they're not terrestrial radio, but they do a daily show and cover our local sports and a bunch of stuff. Anyways, he is known to be a jinx. They call him Jimmy Landmine, and he picked Auburn to win the whole damn thing in his bracket. And as soon as he said that, because he did the same shit with the Braves
Yeah.
when the Braves were up 3-0 on the Dodgers, or no, it was 3-1. He said, "There's no way that they're going to lose 3 games in a row. This team's too good." And then the Dodgers obviously went on to beat them. And I, I think I wrote him a mean tweet. And when I say mean, just like, please keep my team's names out of your mouth. And then as soon as he said it on the show, obviously before the tournament tipped off, I was like,
No.
oh. No, it was rough, but once again, I've recovered, and there's still a lot of good basketball to be played. While we're doing the show, I'm not watching some of these games. There's a lot of good ones, Currently going on, Clemson is ahead of 2 seed Arizona, 39 to
Mhm.
31 at the half. UConn is up on San Diego State, 31 to 23. 6 minutes and 53 seconds left to play in the first half. That's where Auburn probably would have been if they had gotten over
Mhm.
Yale, because I think that San Diego State and Auburn are very similar teams, play very similar styles of basketball. Auburn has more athletes, in my opinion. Could be dead wrong.
Yeah.
Don't know. That's a what if, like woulda, coulda, shoulda type scenario. So I have no clue how it would or would not be going. Um, the big one for our local thing is today, probably right around or a little bit after the show gets over, is Bama is playing number 1 seed UNC.
Mhm.
They don't have the teeth that UNC generally does, but still a very good basketball team. Obviously, good enough to get a number 1 seed, and
Yeah.
Alabama might be out Latrell Williams
Yeah.
with a concussion. I think they've kept that kind of under wraps. By this time, the news is probably broken whether he is or is not in. I don't know, but either way, Alabama's offense is second to none, and
And
their
then
defense is shoddy. But
shoddy. It's awful.
uh, so we'll see how it goes. And I got no ill will towards them. I don't want them to make a Final Four. That's the one thing that Auburn basketball has on top of Alabama basketball right now. So if you make it to the Elite Eight, awesome, Alabama, good for you. But then proceed to lose, please.
No, I've watched a lot of other games, but I have not watched either of Alabama's games. Like I'm
I've
like
watched.
Santana when it comes to like Auburn basketball. He says every time he watches them, they lose. That's for me, Alabama. Pretty much every time I watch them, they lose. So
We might have to extend the show tonight. I don't know how. We don't have a ton to talk about, viewers, but we might just have to run it through. No, I'm
do
kidding.
do a watch along. No, but every time or almost every time, there's been a few, like when they won the SEC championship a couple years
Mhm.
ago. I saw that one, but I I try not to watch them. I'll watch other games, but I'll keep up with it kind of. Now
Uh,
with the Sabres, yeah, if I watch, they lose. If I don't watch, they lose. So that one's a little different.
yeah, I mean, when we actually, I'll try and do some brushing up between now and next show, depending on our docket, because it's coming up on tournament time for them now,
Mhm.
um, and also the NBA. But I, if you guys are tuning in for NBA news on this show, I'm just going to go ahead and break it to you. I don't think any one of us care. I used to could tell you every starting lineup and most of the backups on all 30 teams. I'm just not there anymore. They and it's not anything against the NBA or anything political or anything like that. It's just not as fun to watch anymore. And I used to be the
Yeah.
exact opposite. I couldn't tell you a damn thing about college basketball. I couldn't tell you who was good, who wasn't good. If you asked me who the best team in the nation was, 6 or 7 years ago, I'm just gonna default to say Duke or North Carolina or Kentucky or Kansas. Um, and obviously that's kind of gotten flip flopped. Not flip
Mhm.
flopped. Obviously UNC is a 1 seed, but it's the landscape of that has changed a ton, and the landscape of the NBA has changed a ton. It's just not that fun to watch to me anymore. Whereas college
Yeah.
basketball is still like, it still brings the heat and the grit.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem as exciting
Hmm.
sometimes, like, especially with, like, these, March Madness games, like, some of them most of them are, like, even that the Samford, Kansas game,
Oh yeah,
when
man.
Samford got hosed, the
Yep.
guy blocked the shot all ball and got a foul called. That's just kinda my that's my gripe against basketball in general. Like I'm sorry, but the it seems to me the refs can influence the game so much, like so much more than most other sports. Like it's just if the guy's bigger and then they knock over somebody, then it's a foul. But then the little guys will climb up all over the big guys, but they're not going to call it. Like I don't know. I just
And obviously I got biased watching the game that that I was watching for Auburn. I did feel like there was a bias there. Yeah, no, I hear you, MVL, and that's fine. Once again, go Elite Eight, no Final Four. We already got robbed of a title shot back in 2019 when once again it kind of seemed at the end of the game there were 2 missed calls on Virginia, and that 3-point shot may or may not have been a foul.
Okay, I was supposed to
We'll say
say
that it is.
the 3-point shot was a foul. The double dribble, yeah, they totally missed that one.
Well, it would have taken the whole thing out of it. Would
Yeah,
just put the ball back in Auburn's head. Game would have been over, and then we would have played, and then Virginia goes on to win the whole thing anyways. So
yeah,
I don't know. And obviously if Alabama goes on and does something incredible, good for Alabama. At the only reason why it would take away from what Auburn has done is because fans on both sides of this aisle, and you know that as well as I do, Normie. Um, there are good fans, and then there are terrible fans.
yes. And I will say this, and I'll admit it. There are more terrible Alabama fans than terrible Auburn fans.
Well, there's just more Alabama
There
fans.
are more. I guess, yeah, numbers wise, that
So
would correlate. But yeah, it seems like because there's a lot of Alabama fans. Even I'm like, dude, like what? Like, just yeah, I know I get passionate about it, but like, come on now. Boo,
oh,
Santana, you've changed.
yes, I suppose anybody tuning in here, I'm in Santana's realm. While he's out, I am doing some dog sitting, and his dogs' names are Crimson and Tide.
Yeah, that's a good teammate right there.
I think he's a closet Bama fan. No, I'm kidding. It's Penny and Ahsoka, nicknamed Soki, and they are adorable. And also, Penny might be bustering me tonight because she's being very needy without her folks around.
And Ahsoka, he's such a Star Wars fan.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. He's,
I can't say anything. I have a dog named Rory, so straight from Doctor Who.
both good names and also both great dogs. So,
Yeah. Well, and Rory's like a Yorkshire Terrier, so having an English name like that kind of fits.
perfect.
Little sausage,
Yes,
Penny. I mean,
he's just a little sausage.
little chunk.
Let's see. Here's a little chunk.
There he is.
Here's a little chunk.
Already, but yeah, I've watched them South Carolina or North Carolina. I saw them play Michigan State the other night, and I will say they did start off slow, but they came back and made it where it wasn't even a game. So
Yeah,
I
they've had some ups and downs throughout the season, so I think Alabama really has a good shot. But if they put their A game on, I think that they're the superior team. But
yeah,
I mean, I don't even know what the point spread is in that game.
it's 4.5. Or earlier today, it was 4.5 North Carolina,
Okay, yeah, that
which
sounds
I
about
would
right.
say is about right. That's a good point spread, but I don't know. They're going to be pretty tough. And then one thing too, if Alabama's on, they're on. If they're not,
Well,
Ooh, it gets ugly really fast,
that's
especially with the
exactly it.
defense that they just do not possess.
Exactly. I mean, Alabama could win the whole thing if they can shoot this game, the next game, I guess the next 4 games. They got 4 games to prove it all, to win the whole damn thing. And if they can consistently shoot, very specifically from three, that's Nate Oates' style, is
Mhm.
very run and gun, and you know, pop your shot when you got it.
I would say
Because
the only places on the court he wants them to shoot is behind the arc and a around a
at the
layup.
basket, yep,
Yeah.
yeah, like you're shooting either 1 to 2 feet in or all the way behind. Um, and if they're shooting well, they can play with anybody, beat anybody because their
Mhm.
offense is fire. However, if they're missing shots, that defense cannot just hold up, which is why I do not think that they are a sustainable team moving forward. But I do think they have a good shot to win tonight.
Yeah.
And they
And I
might
don't
have,
know,
I mean, hell, they could surprise me. They could win the whole
yeah.
damn.
I mean, they could just, see that 1 seed and then decide to play. I don't know. Let's hope though. I don't think they've played in Los Angeles this year, so because they're in the Staples Center, aren't they?
Yes, or the crypto.com center now. It used to formerly the Staples Center. But
Staples.
yes, yeah, this it's Staples Center. It'll always be Staples Center.
True, I'm not watching Bama play either. Not sure which team is going to show up. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, uh they've just I think that they've set a record for 100-point games in a season this year because
Yeah.
when they start launching and it's fallen, and also Nate Oates kind of seemed to find a groove. Obviously, the end of the season for Alabama went fairly poorly.
Yeah.
But they had injuries, and I think maybe letting the pedal off the gas a little bit. Even Nate Oates said he kind of rested guys who probably could have played, but just trying to get them healthy for the big one. Because the SEC tournament they were in, and the end of the regular season, was the last like 2 or 3 games, because I think they lost the last like 5 of 6 or something like that. He was like,
Mhm.
I wanted to get everybody healthy for the big one. He doesn't want the narrative to, because I think this is his fourth Sweet 16 in his 5 years of or 6 years of coaching, 5 opportunities to do it because one of them would have been the COVID year where they canceled the whole tournament. So
Yeah.
I mean that's really impressive, but he hasn't gotten past this point yet, and so I think that this means way more to him uh, than it does for a lot of coaches. But he does run up against a very big and athletic UNC team. But what I was saying is, it kind of seemed like he found a lineup with going basically 4 guards and 1 big because they were trying to play a more conventional lineup with
Mhm.
their big guys, but their big guys just first off aren't that big. Secondly,
Yeah.
they're not as good as most other people's bigs. So it's like hell, lean into what you're good at, run and gun, play behind the arc, or cut to the basket, and it so far in the tournament's worked.
Yeah. Now they really been tested?
Well, I'd say Grand
Grand
Canyon.
Canyon was a good test. There's I mean, that was a good team.
It is a good team, and an underrated team because no one knows who Grand Canyon is.
Yeah.
Like if you didn't go there or play in their conference, when you see Grand Canyon, you think, no big threat there. But no, they play good ball.
They do. Alrighty. And then capping off, Illinois, Iowa State. That's pretty much who I had in my bracket.
Yeah, no, it got really chalky. And when I say really chalky, chalk is when like most of your high seeds win. Last year, um, FAU was like a 12 or a 13 seed, made the Final Four. San Diego
San
State
Diego
kind of
State
came out
was
of
there.
nowhere. It
Yeah,
last
last year
year.
was a crazy year because there wasn't no number 1 in the entire Final Four.
I mean, last year it got turned on its head. This year is much more uh, not predictable, obviously, because there are still teams that are out there doing stuff that maybe you did or did not expect. But It's, I mean, you've got all of your number one seeds alive. Um, you've got, I believe, yeah, all of your number two seeds are alive. Um,
Hmm.
it's a couple of four seeds, couple of three seeds, a five or a couple of fives, um, a six. The only thing that's against chalk right now is NC State, who
Yeah.
I've heard. I haven't watched a single game of the Wolfpack at all this year, but I've heard like coming into this tournament, like y'all watch out, they're going to be dangerous. And so far, well, they've proven it. So,
They have.
yeah. So we'll
They
see what Marquette's got tomorrow.
You know who was tested? Bobby Boucher before the Mud Dogs won the Bourbon Bowl. The Bourbon Bowl. It's not a guess. That's what it's going to be.
He owed me $50.
And then, and then her sign while he's taking the test. No, 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 no. I'm good. Thank you.
Oh, Vicky Valancourt, you'll
Mhm,
forever live up here, buddy.
mhm. Mm-mm-mm. Alrighty. So now let's move on to my favorite time of the year, or my favorite spring sport, even though there's not that many that I really liked before, but we got the UFL starting on Saturday. So for
Opening
those,
up with
yeah, starting off with the Birmingham Stallions, the USFL champion versus the Arling Renegades, and they were the XFL champion.
it's exciting.
So for those who don't know, what is the UFL? So let's head back, a couple years. 2020, the XFL um, had been revived. I think it had been 20 years because I think it was 2000 when they first did it. But they revived in 2020. Um, had to stop playing because of COVID. And then 2022 rolled around, and then the USFL, which was a spring league back in the 80s. I think they played 3 seasons, 83, 4, and 5. Was a real big league. I mean, they even had Doug Flutie was in it, and Herschel Walker was in it. Um, they tried to pay a lot of money to get a lot of superstars away from the NFL, but it ended up folding. But in 2022, uh, a new or Fox mainly is the major shareholder of the USFL. They kind of brought it back, got the trademarks, and even brought the older teams back. One of them being the Birmingham Stallions. Um, Stallions won in 22. Then 23, the XFL was bought out by The Rock and a bunch of other people. And they had their league of it was 8 teams. USFL was 8 teams. And then they both had time last year. I think the XFL started a little earlier, so it ended earlier. USFL used to start about April. But then after last year, uh, they got together, decided to merge both leagues. Now, I was actually a little disappointed in this, only in you had 2 leagues of 8 teams that merged into 1 league of 8 teams.
Yeah, I was
Uh,
hoping they'd kind of go 16, and maybe financially it just didn't make sense for them. But I agree
I
with
would have
you
been
there.
I would have been fine with 12. Just
Yeah,
to
yeah.
have that more than 8, and then you can have the 3 game, or maybe, yeah, you could have 12, 6 teams make it and do a 3 game playoff. But anyway, they merged, and we got the UFL.
Well, in both leagues, and I don't know the exact numbers, but both leagues did a really good job about because that's kind of what they had pitched both leagues the premise on is these guys who maybe didn't hit the combine well or weren't even invited to the combine, but like they wanted to still pursue football and still had the talent to do so. And then there's like this could be kind of like the like MLB teams have three different divisions of farming teams, and that's how they kind of pitch both the XFL and the USFL, and now it's just the UFL, of course, to kind of groom these guys and maybe polish them even more to get to the pros. Actually, we've got uh, yeah, NBL here. It's like they that's a good thing that they're losing these players generally
Yeah.
because it means that the the premise of the league is working. A lot of these guys are getting that opportunity for the big show to the NFL, and that's exciting. And also, it is wildly underrated football to watch. It's
It
very
is.
exciting. It really is.
It reminds me more of that excitement in like college football.
Mhm.
Like anything could happen. Uh-oh, we got a special guest here.
We got a special guest here.
Look at
Hello.
this.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah,
My
loud and
headphones are
clear.
being weird.
So what are you up to, bud?
Just baby stuff
I
all
hear
the
ya.
time.
You have a baby?
I was surprised too.
Just one day it was there.
Yeah, I don't know how it happened. Still don't really know how it works.
He was mostly surprised by how slanty the eyes were.
Yeah. Oh man. But yeah, we're just talking UFL.
UFL. Okay.
But
It's
to bounce off what Kenyatta was saying, you got Turpin. He played in 2022 in the USFL. Then the next year went to the NFL and was a Pro Bowler as a returner.
yeah.
And I think was he All Pro?
It's
I don't know if he was all pro.
But I think he did. He made the Pro Bowl, but I don't know if he was All Pro.
It's still weird that those are two separate things to me.
Yeah.
Well, Pro Bowl is voted on by the fans, and there's a lot more political stuff. All Pro is a little bit more meaningful because it's like the players and only coaches vote on that. So Pro Bowl is like a popularity contest sometimes. Sometimes, I mean, obviously, generally only really good players go. All Pro is like your peers recognize how good you are, and that's the delineation between those two.
That does matter.
Yeah.
That is important. Yeah, I'm looking at Turpin now. Does he really only weigh 152 pounds?
Yeah, he is not a big guy. He is not. He is a good receiver too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, as a Rams fan with Tutu Atwell, as long as you can take the hits, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and Jameson Williams for the Lions is listed at like 168. It's not like he's a big guy either.
Well, Devontae Smith.
Yeah. Jalen Waddle.
Alabama was pumping him out for a little while.
I think Jalen Waddle may be like 190.
Yeah,
so still less than I weigh, but
oh man.
No, they've done a really good job about like putting people on rosters though, at least practice squads.
Yeah. Or at least give the biggest thing is it's the film. They've got competitive film that they have in the spring going into summer camp.
Mm-hmm.
And going into signing these bigger rosters. Now, a lot of times, yeah, they fluff off, but at least they get enough on film to then get that opportunity, and then sometimes, like Turpin, he gets there, or the Stallions kicker from last year, Brandon Aubrey. He was on the Stallions for 2 years, and then got his opportunity, and I think he was, he definitely a Pro Bowl. And he might did he got beat out all pro by did
Well,
Tucker beat
yeah, I
him
mean
out?
Justin Tucker in the Pro
Yeah.
Bowl, the kicking competition, he had to go up against Justin Tucker, and we are literally talking about going up against the greatest kicker of all
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
But and then XFL side too, I mean, you've had a lot of players come out. Who was I thinking of? It's Khalil Davis, the defensive lineman for the Texans.
Yes, yeah.
He actually became a big part of their defense that helped them, win that playoff game.
Wait, go ahead.
And LeBron Ray, he was on the practice squad of the Patriots, got cut from that, got to the USFL about halfway through the season, and then ended up making the Panthers team and was on their 53-man roster. So
Without injuries, that guy would have just been a monster to
yeah,
begin with.
he definitely would have. But yeah, I mean, and the games are just so much fun. I know the first year USFL was here in Birmingham, and they played all the games here except the playoff and the championship game, and that was so much fun. Like, I went to so many games. Like, there were days like on a Saturday or Sunday where they would have the games back to back. It'd be like 20 minutes in between. So you could I got tickets free through work. So I would just go and then just sit through both the games like all day. I did that a couple times. But and then last year they did hubs. So it was New Orleans and the Stallions were here, and I got to go to all those games. And again, it was so much fun. I got better seats last year than
I,
I got season tickets and got the fancy padded seats because those do make a difference. Trust me.
I've only been to the one game last year with you, Normie, and I wasn't expecting much. I mean, obviously, I was seeing a lot of friends and family there at that game, and that's really more what I was going for. But then when I got there, was watching the football. I was like, "Hey guys, don't talk to me. This is actually really good football."
And we happen to be there for a pretty big comeback win. So
Yep.
it's a good game to be at.
With that last drive.
Yeah.
And 4th and 12 and got Sternberger in there and then getting that last.
What a name. Sternberger.
He's back too, by the way.
Good.
Birmingham was looking really good. Like, there were some veterans that got cut. Like, the center played, 2022 and 2023, started both years, and even he got cut. So there's got to be some really good people coming up. And then got Matt Corral. Of course, Jamar Smith is coming back. He's the guy. He was the main guy in 22 that led to the championship. Of course, last year was Alex Magoo.
What is Magoo up to? I know he got signed to the Packers, made the practice squad, basically played practice squad all year this 2023/2024 season. Is he still with the Packers? I haven't heard much about it.
Last I had heard, he had re-signed.
Okay,
with their
good.
practice squad. That was the last, or he had re-signed or something. But that was the last thing I heard.
That game.
He was that all year. Like,
yeah, he was a dog.
There were so many of those, like, scrambling around. Okay, throw it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, a bomb touchdown. Like, that's one of the things that really makes it fun, because crazy things like that can happen. Like I said, it just has more of the feel of that college too. And also, I mean, these guys are out there to do their best, and so they can try and make it to the NFL.
I mean, obviously they're getting paid a pretty decent wage. I think the last I'd heard, and I think this is like basically year one, and not to blow up their spot or whatever, but it's like $70,000 a year plus lodging and food.
Yeah,
nothing to sneeze at whatsoever. No. That's pretty rad. However, they are clearly playing this game because A, they love it, and B, they think that they're good enough to go make it to the next level. And the only way to make it to that next level is play their asses off.
Mm-hmm.
So they're trying to showcase. They're like the special teams players, and like the preseason is the only reason why I even tune into some of the preseason NFL games, because you are watching some of those.
Yeah.
What is that Alabama strength and conditioning coaches
Scott
guys?
Cochran.
Yeah, Scott, the job stealers. They are
Yeah.
out there trying to steal jobs. Like, it just proved they're worth a shot.
Yeah, and I don't want to derail too much, but I did want to talk about the new kickoff rule in the NFL. Just as we're talking about special teams and how people start their career, one of my favorite players ever started his career on special teams in the NFL. But I'll come back to that because I don't want to get too far off track. UFL stuff.
No, that's fine. Yeah,
That's fine with me.
I definitely did want to get to that. Especially since we're talking about XFL. Funny thing is, the UFL is not doing that. They're using the USFL kickoff, which they kick off from the 20.
Okay.
And then, but they have the rule that if the offense fumbles through the end zone, they get the ball back where they fumbled.
I like
And
that.
that was
I've never loved that rule.
But there are I'll get back to but I know there are rumblings in the NFL to change that. I hate that. I hate that.
Do you? Okay.
That's the defense's ball, like, period. The
I
offense
think that a good compromise is you get it for whatever down and you start them on the 20. So if it was third down and you fumble it out of the back of the end zone, okay, you get one more shot from the 20. Although that basically guarantees you points then. Still.
Yeah.
But
These
that
days,
is the point where you've got to protect the ball.
you've got to protect the ball. Got to continue with that discipline. If you mess up, that's the price you pay. Also, I'm an offensive guy. I played offense when I played football. I've always enjoyed offense more than defense. But the defense has so many handicaps, and they got to pretty much play. They just did that hip
Speaking of new
ban.
rules, hip drop tackle.
Does anybody like that other than people who don't watch football?
I've only heard,
I get it. Like, it does
heard negative responses.
It does cause injuries, but so does tackling in general. It's just,
so just stepping off of a curb the wrong way. Are we going to start telling people that, like, all curbs have, like, safety guards and handrails? I mean, you are playing a dangerous brutal sport. Like,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I get some of this. I think landing on the quarterback with body weight is stupid.
And guys were clearly doing that on purpose just to rattle the quarterback, and it was causing unnecessary injuries. That's 100%. Easy to not do. But this, like, the example they used is just a regular tackle. It's just a guy making a tackle using his body weight to pull the other guy down.
For the body weight on a quarterback, I can't remember who got flagged, but they had their hands up in the air. Like, they had made the tackle, quarterback's going down, and they had their hands up in the air, and, like, they're trying to roll. It's also, and this isn't one of those rules. In fact, the head and neck area for quarterbacks, I think you guys would remember this. Obviously, this is some years back, but Courtney Upshaw plants his face mask right in Ben Roethlisberger's chest plate, like dead center right here, and just levels him. And it was a great hit, and he got flagged for it. 15 yards, automatic first down, this, that, or the other. And Ben Roethlisberger after the game was like, that was some of the hardest hit I've ever taken, maybe the cleanest hit I've ever taken.
Yeah.
What else can you do?
Like, you just,
and not to mention Ben Roethlisberger weighs 275.
So exactly. I mean, it's not like you're hitting a small man there. I understand protecting players, but at what point we're just going to put the belt and put the flags on?
I hate even the face mask thing, like hitting, like when the defender goes and wraps up and they hit face mask to face mask with the quarterback, and then they'll call targeting on it.
Yep.
I hate that
That's
shit.
what the face mask's for.
That is the basic fundamental of tackling is you see what you hit.
Yeah.
Neck
That's
up.
what they're doing. They're keeping themselves protected. Like, I've always hated that. Like, that's how that and you go to block a pass and then you brush the quarterback's helmet. Like, I understand if you come down like full like palm on the helmet and like it, you clearly did it to hurt the quarterback or try to, but just like a defender just going and it just like brushes their helmet and then it's 15 yards. That's ridiculous. That's what they're taught to do. You throw your hands up. Like,
Yeah, and that's not what the rule was.
yeah, the
Was
rule was to
for.
prevent the one with the like full palm on the helmet.
And that's the problem with some of these new rules is it leaves way too much interpretation for referees that are now just getting buried. And on the one hand, are they doing the best job? No, it kind of seems like diminishing returns. But on the other hand, is the league making their job harder every year? 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Like now this is like interpretation type stuff. Like what is a hold nowadays? There's holding that can be called literally every play, and it's either got to be super egregious or it can be not a hold whatsoever, and either of those things can get flagged. And then anything in the middle. I mean, and then depending on what time of the game that you call it,
Mm-hmm.
it's you got death threats on your head. Pass interference, same thing. I've watched 1,000 games where a guy's getting pass interfered and nothing's called, and it's like that defender's been playing it that way the whole time. Then when it really matters,
then you call it.
Yeah, it's not fair to the players either. I mean, that defender is adjusting to what he's able to do, able to get away with.
Yep.
I mean, as like a cornerback, you're pushing the limits all the time.
It's the hardest position to play on the field.
I've said that over and over again. It's not even close. Quarterback's not close. DB, you are covering, especially if you're a number one DB, you're covering the most athletic guy on the field every play.
And he's
at least
generally
when you're
bigger
a man.
than you, generally just as fast as you, and he knows where he's going.
He knows the route before you do. Yeah. And he has, in most cases in the NFL, a lot of chemistry with the quarterback that you can't have because you're playing against him 1 to 2 times a year. Yeah, but we don't have to go on a DB tangent.
Okay. Well, just to get back to the kickoff rule, I've only seen bits and pieces. What is the total breakdown? Do either one of you guys know about it?
Let me pull.
I know it's kind of pulled off of like what you were talking about, Normie, of the XFL rule.
From what I've seen, the kick itself and the return men are in the same spot, but it's everyone else who are moved up closer together so that one side isn't waiting. Yeah, let him explain.
Okay, so you're kind of talking about like you got the return man way back, and then
all right. So the kicker is going to be back at the I think it's the 30, like normal.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the 35.
35, 30, and then everybody else are the other 10 defenders, and then 10 people are receivers will be at. I think it's the 20. Hold on.
This is the UFL point after touchdown. This is about more closer games and more strategy.
Careful, no, we're going to get flagged.
The team has 3 different point after touchdown options, and there are no kicks. The scoring team can go for 1 from the 2-yard line,
Let me see
go for 2 from the 5-yard line, or go all in and go for 3.
These big guns got to worry about us.
The defense can score 2. If they
Our
get a
6
turnover and
viewers-
return it to the opposite end
We're
zone,
gonna start
they
turning
get
a
the same
profit.
amount of points the offense would.
Well, actually, this video doesn't even have that. I thought it would.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me find a breakdown of this.
Yeah, I saw a breakdown the other day, but I only watched it one time.
Kickoffs. Okay. Kickoffs look more traditional, like more traditional college. That's not. I figured out the problem. They don't use that anymore.
Okay. So we're
I just
we're
said
looking
that.
at UFL kickoffs right now.
Sorry.
I mean, it's gonna be okay. So the building block is line up everybody downfield before the kicker rather than have them run there while the ball is in the air. Therefore, they'll reduce the speed and the
All right.
high speed collisions will be minimized.
Yeah.
So the
kickoff
ball
still remains at the 35.
Yeah. So the kickoff will remain at the 35. The kickoff line will be at the 40. The receiving team will be lined up at the 45. And then the ball has to land. The receiver will be in this area, and the ball has to land inside the 20.
So if it lands at the 21, is it a touchback? Is that the way this will work? Because I didn't think about the landing zone. The rest of this looks familiar. I didn't think the landing zone was like required, but it might be.
Yeah.
Well, this
so
also
they
kind of seems
it has
silly
to be
because they're still
into
going to
the
be kicking from the 35.
and you can't touchback.
Yeah, they can
because a touchback is a penalty as well. It has to land inside this 20.
From the way I saw it explained, maybe the analysts reviewing it didn't realize that, but they said they're just going to kick it out of the end zone like they used to. I mean, because they're still kicking from the same place. They could still kick it out of the end zone like they always did.
Oh, okay. I know the XFL, it was a penalty even if you kicked it out of the end zone.
I don't think that's the case here, but
no, it's still a touchback and spotted at the 30.
Yeah, so I feel like returns are still going to be rare.
It's putting lipstick on a pig. It doesn't matter. Like NFL kickers are.
I was about to say
Harrison Butker can make field goals off the tee.
I was about to say I was thinking it was just like the XFL. So if they can do touchbacks, then what are we doing?
Lipstick on a pig. This doesn't change a damn thing.
Yeah.
Unless you have somebody like Turpin
yeah.
No, I'd kick it out every time.
Every time, like just drill it to the end zone.
Most teams do anyway.
Exactly.
But I was thinking earlier of Terrell Davis because he was a 6th round pick, I believe, started out on the kickoff team, and his first play ever in the NFL, he just ran down there and destroyed the kickoff returner. And to be fair, the kickoff returner might have been injured on the play. So I understand why rules like this exist. But it's not the way football was designed originally. It was supposed to be this high risk play.
High reward.
Yeah. Although those high rewards have kind of disappeared in the last few years because kickers can kick it so far.
Yeah.
Well, they disappeared because we moved everything up. Kickers can kick it so far at this point. And I love special teams, but let's call a spade a spade. Let's take the kickoff out. You win the toss, you get it at the 25, the 30, like wherever. Like if you choose to return or the other team chooses to defer. I mean, screw it. I mean, because they're kicking it from the same spot where they're just bombing it out of the back of the end zone time and time again. Why even change these rules? It just seems like bureaucracy for the sake of bureaucracy, which I think is a fucking waste of time, which seems like most bureaucracy is super down to do that.
Yeah, they are. Waste
Well, I
time.
think
Yeah.
I think too they're trying to find something to be, just to throw something new in
Oh,
because
look at all the work we're doing. Yep.
yeah, the
See,
NFL has been quite stale recently. So I think
Did
they're just
y'all?
trying to find something new that they're like, "Oh, well maybe this will kind of either bring people back or bring in more people."
No, definitely
No,
not.
it won't,
Less
but
less
yeah.
less danger. No, that's that doesn't make sense. I knew they were discussing the kickoff issue, or their version of an issue, but I didn't know that the hip drop tackle was being discussed at all until they announced the rule change. Did y'all already know about that? Maybe I just hadn't been paying
I'd
attention.
I'd
I'd
heard it
heard they
been
were
brought up,
yeah.
and then what I had heard was basically everybody on the surface was like, "This is a non-starter, no big deal, it'll be fine." But when they got behind closed doors, it went through unanimously through the owners, and it doesn't make sense to me. Like, these guys can quite literally only tackle these guys if they're in front of them now. They can only tackle them from the collarbone to the waist. They can't leave their feet. They can't lower their head, neck, shoulder, whatever. They can't lead with their head, neck, and shoulder. You can't lower your head. You can't lead with your head, neck, or shoulder. Like, so they imagine trying to tackle Derrick Henry, who's got about
He's the
15
first person
yards.
everybody thinks of when this
Yep.
rule comes up. It's like, that's a huge, giant, fast man.
And all you can do is break down, get in a very square stance. And
get
if
run
he
over.
tries to juke you, then like you can't even like dive. Like you can't even like leave your feet because you can't become a weightless tackler with this new rule. So you're just gonna get juked, and then he's just gonna go right by you.
Yeah.
It's a stupid premise.
And at some point, defensive injuries are going to increase because of the rule changes they've made, and it will defeat the whole purpose.
I actually think it will increase the purpose. I think what they want is 60 to 57 and 70 to 75. Like the scores increase every year. And I understand people love offense. And as a Rams fan, not just because we lost the game. And I've had discussions with multiple people, but the 13-3 Super Bowl that we were in that we lost to the Patriots bored me. I mean, obviously it broke my heart, but also I was like, damn, I kind of want to see something happen. Defensive struggles are not as fun to watch as offensive highlights, but you actually do still have to respect them because that means the defensive players and coordinators, head coach, whoever's all involved with it, came up with a great plan when, like Normie was saying, the whole defensive side of the football is completely hamstrung already. Why do we keep trying to put more on their plate? And cornerbacks, speaking of which, cornerbacks and DBs, they're the ones who are going to pay for this the hardest.
Mm-hmm.
Defensive linemen obviously are getting to square up their target a lot more. Linebackers coming downhill. It's these DBs who are having to like angle tackle people like Derrick Henry, and your average DB goes at average is probably like 190, maybe 200, and that's pretty big for a bunch of them. And then tackle a guy who's 250 pounds who runs a 4.4. That's yeah, but you got to get in front of him, and you can't leave your when you can't leave your feet to tackle him. Shit. Well, I guess I'll just let him run into the end zone then. If that's the rule.
Yeah.
I mean, shit. Like,
I will say I've loved all the memes of like, Kansas City getting another chance because of a hip tackle, or like Josh Allen having like 500 yards, like 6 touchdowns, but lost because of a hip tackle with 20 seconds left.
and that's the thing. Like, there's so much conspiracy right now about not just players. Obviously, players is the big one because they don't have the money to cover it up nearly as much as the owners. But there's some implications for owners and some of your upper ups and all of your major sports about how big gambling has gotten and game fixing. And so now you're adding rules in to where now these referees are even more involved to where, like, is the NFL scripted? Is the NBA scripted? Like, is this all just a show? Even if the players don't know it, like, we can control it however we want. The more rules we make, the more money we can make by controlling the game.
Yeah.
I just think that they're becoming their own worst enemy there, but absolute power corrupts absolutely. So
it definitely does. And I don't know. I think it's going to be a lot different looking. Preseason is going to be nuts. Like, because they're going to be calling it like crazy during preseason.
Yep.
Well, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I can't imagine it not being called constantly because it's a normal thing that you do when you're trying to tackle somebody.
Yeah,
and especially at an angle.
Yeah, and it's both easy to spot and hard to spot because every tackle looks like that. Because when I saw the example of it, I was like, wait, is it just him wrapping around and pulling back with his body weight like you're supposed to tackle from behind? And yes, that is exactly what it is. I get that people have had hip injuries, and the example they show is the injury for Mark Andrews. But I mean, what's the other option? What do you just dig your feet in and get dragged along because you can't get leverage?
If I ever have a son with an Amazonian woman, and he's big enough to play football, first off, I'm going to tell him. I'm going to tell him to play basketball or baseball. Both of them are more guaranteed contracts and much less physical strain on your body anyways. Although the game of football is so much more fun to watch, in my opinion. But then if he decides football, I'm going to tell him not defense. Because you can never be a great defender anymore.
They're taking away all the advantages.
Yep.
Not that there were many left anyway, but
yeah.
Just any position that's not on the defensive side of the ball, which I've heard counter arguments to that, very specifically for cornerback, where if your son is athletic enough to be either a wide receiver or a cornerback, there's thousands of hours of footage for wide receivers, but you have to like really scrape to find great DBs. But
yeah, you see it happen with a lot of guys going from high school to college, and they end up as a DB either because they're undersized or there are already 3 wide receivers who are dominating. But yeah, most of them aren't great. But to be fair, most receivers aren't great either. It's just how it works.
Well, if I can really just drill camp my son, I'll make him Travis Hunter.
There you go.
Play both. Let them pick which one.
Yeah.
No. I mean, he did have an advantage in that Deion Sanders provided half of his genetic material.
Oh no! Hunter's just a recruit.
Oh right.
I'm sorry.
Confused myself. Myself. Yeah.
I was thinking. I was like,
whoa! Started a controversy here because it would make sense given how he can play the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe they do need to do a test.
It wouldn't shock me. It wouldn't shock me. the way he plays ball. But no, being able to play both sides like that and play the majority of snaps on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
But who has that kind of stamina? That's insane. Most players that you watch, like even if they're, young bucks, 19, 20, 21, they've just played a drive on offense or defense, whichever side of the ball. They are coming off the field huffing and friggin' puffing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, and
even
even
be
if
able to suit up and go back out there.
Even if they're conditioned for it, it's too explosive of a sport. It's just not physically possible to maintain all of the elements of athleticism at the end of the game. You're not going to be as explosive.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why a guy like Travis Hunter is like an absolute freak for being able to play 80% of snaps on both sides of the ball. But that's, in fact, once again, have a baby with an Amazonian woman, because that's the only way that my kid would be.
Just to get the average height.
Yeah, just to get the average height.
Same boat here.
and basically, for me, really pull that kid up to average athleticism. I don't even think we'd get above average athleticism at that point. But in a world where genetics all lined up, look at the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movie, like where it all starts to link in. And it creates a professional athlete level being, rather than the training for skill set for whatever position, is conditioning. All we're going to do is run so that you can play both sides of the ball. Then you get to pick.
Well, that's the thing, though, because somebody like Travis Hunter, he's probably, for most of the game, 70% of his max, and he's still that good. You have to be that good. But imagine how good he could be just on one side of the ball. If he's
and that's what the NFL will do to him, because they won't let him play both sides. No. But I agree with you. Like, I'm actually really excited for him to go to the NFL. I'm also really excited to see which side of the ball they put him on.
Yeah. I also wonder, too, about the combine, just because guys like that tend to either not perform well or not run the 40, not bench press, and just run routes. Or honestly, what are DBs? They just run through drills, linebackers and DBs. And they'll
cones. I
see the videos and they're like, he looked great. Like I could run to those cones.
Yeah, I've done that before.
That doesn't tell me anything. So that the drills, I mean, you almost might as well do the receiver drills, because then they see if you can catch. You have one ball thrown to you in the defensive drills.
Yeah.
You go back and forth, you go backwards, then you come back forward, and they throw the ball at you. That's the only time. But I'm excited to see that too, just to see what happens. And with somebody like Deion Sanders, of being his coach, apparently not his dad, as I was thinking earlier. If he knows that Travis Hunter is going to run a 4.53, he'll run 40, and he won't. If he knows you're only going to get 7 reps of bench press, he won't do that either. And that'll affect his draft stock, because people don't know about the tangible things. They only know that he's been really good at Colorado State.
Well, I mean, it's a hell of a game to play in that regard, because Marvin Harrison has been listed as like the number 1 receiver the whole time.
Yeah.
And then he basically opted out on everything. I think he ran some catching drills. Obviously, he's amazing, 6'4", big-bodied, and has been elite his whole collegiate career. But he didn't pro day and combine, no jumps, no 40, no speed, nothing like that. And then Malik Neighbors goes out and runs
Kills it.
Like a 4.34, jumps 42
in
inches.
The 4.3s. Yeah.
Like, I mean, and now everybody, because you can, like, that's eye-popping shit. So then it's like, I don't know, maybe this is the number 1 guy.
Yeah, and that's the thing, though, because if Marvin Harrison had done it and he'd run a mid 4.5, which is probably about what he would have run.
It's
Does
still
he
really
look
fast,
better?
by the way.
Yeah. Does he look better or worse now for not running it? They just got to weigh that decision. And sometimes it's a sign of maturity that they don't run.
Yeah.
Somebody I always actually think of, and I don't think people who I don't want to sound snobby because I follow track, but Lamar Jackson didn't run a 40. People have reported 40s. It wouldn't have been as fast as people thought it was, and that's why I didn't run. That's what other reason does he have not to run it? And that's fine. He's clearly one of the fastest quarterbacks and shiftiest guys in the league. But his 40 wouldn't have helped him at all, so he didn't run it, and that helped him. I think people would have questioned his speed otherwise. Maybe not, because he's a once in a lifetime guy. But I love the combine, so I'm just rambling about it. You guys can carry on. And the pro days are happening this week, so I've seen some more guys come through with 40s and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, with neighbors, like last couple of mock drafts I've seen is him going first. So,
I mean, it is once again, it is a difficult game to play. A game that if I were the participant, I would love to play, because you opt out of things where you're like, they don't need to know that about me, and I'm not that confident in, or you're so confident, like Malik Neighbors, like, hell, I'll do it all. I'll do every single one of them and blow them away because I know I'm the best athlete on the field. It's when then and then this is kind of something to brush on because it's about a month away. The NFL teams where they're like, this guy's falling, this guy's rising, this guy's no good at all, this guy's the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's lying season too.
yeah.
So it's a rotation. I'm excited for it. Once again, April 20.
It's usually around the 24th, but I don't know exactly the date.
I think it's a month from this Thursday in April, but it's just there's so many factors. The players who have done enough on the field to where they know that they're going to get a good enough spot have the luxury of not. Yeah, April 25th is when it'll start, and then it'll run through the 28th. That Sunday. Like it's like, well, I mean, like Marvin Harrison Jr. Like he's like, screw it. Like I know it. Don't take me number one. I'll go with the first round. I'm 6'4".
Oh, yeah.
I make incredible plays. I have great hands. I run great routes. Or Roma Dunze. I don't know what I haven't actually heard so much smoke come out of his camp just yet, but those are your big three receivers. And this is just one position group as an example. As like, I mean, they know that they're going to go in the first round. So why give people a negative thing to knock me down for when it's not required of me type thing? Whereas I will say Malik Neighbors with all the confidence in the world is like, nah, I'm that dude.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a guy with all the measurables, then you want to put that on top of all the stuff they've already seen. And somebody like Marvin Harrison, I mean, his dad wasn't known for his measurables either. And Marvin Harrison, sorry, I was adding a bunch of syllables to his name. Marvin Harrison Sr. was what, 5'10", 178.
I think they list him at like 6 foot, but yeah, probably closer to like 5'10", 5'11".
Well under 200 pounds. Not known to
he must have
be.
gotten with an Amazonian.
I guess so, but and not really. And like, I mean, even Jerry Rice was not known for being the fastest or the biggest or the strongest. Marvin Harrison just made plays when he needed to, and also had Peyton Manning throwing to him for most of his career, maybe all
Yeah.
of his career.
Yeah, that helped a lot.
Yeah.
That definitely did.
But the thing is, when I see Marvin Harrison Jr. play, you can see similarities. I mean, even in their body type, even though Jr. is much taller, they have a lot of similarities.
Well, apparently his work ethic is actually like through the roof, like astronomical. Like that dude's first in and last out and all that kind of stuff, and which makes sense because that's all you've ever heard about his dad as well. So I mean, once again, if he falls to the number 2 wide receiver picked, good for the team that gets him.
Yeah.
And if Malik Neighbors goes number 2 instead, or Roma Dunze, I don't know, man. Like, this is why draft season actually is exciting, although you can't trust shit about what people are saying. Like,
No.
because they're putting people up trying to, like, it's a maneuverability thing from billionaires trying to tell you what they're going to do, absolutely meaning to do something. It's lying season. This season is lying season, and trying to see through the bullshit is fun.
Yeah. It's the first season I can remember where the Lions aren't so early on the board that they have one of those guys in their sight.
Yeah.
Which is a little less exciting, but also kind of nice.
Cody,
We
as
don't
a
have
Rams
anybody
fan,
we need desperately right now.
as a Rams fan, this is the very first time that we will be drafting in the first round since we drafted Jared Goff number 1 overall.
Oh.
And I believe that was
The Lions will probably trade with him immediately, and you'll lose your first round draft pick.
So
the Lions trade up for the.
It's been it has been a long time. So yes, I know we've got like the 19th pick, 18th pick, somewhere in there. But since 2016, when we traded all of our draft picks to go get Jared Goff, then once we were done with him, we did it again to go get Matt Stafford. And gave you guys an NFC championship caliber team by doing that.
They blew it.
That was a rough one.
Do you think the Rams are going to try for a defensive line player early since Aaron Donald's going? Has already gone.
I thought that we were going to do DB or edge rusher, but then we signed Tre'Davious White. And
I forgot about that. Yeah.
So I think that we'll probably go edge rusher rather than interior defensive line. What I've seen is, and I apologize to any Florida State fan that is watching or will watch this. The cat is amazing, but I've seen him pop up in our mock drafts time and time and time again. And that seems to be, for right now, once again, it's lying season, but I've seen it in about 85% of the mocks where we go and get him, and thinks that he falls to us. So an edge rusher, so defensive line, yes, edge rushers loosely defined these days.
It's kind of an NFL only position. It could be defensive lineman or linebacker from college.
Mm-hmm. Well, this mock draft, has that Jared Verse.
Thank you.
As the potential from Florida State.
Yep.
Because I was just looking through just one of these, and this one still has Marvin Harrison Jr. going before and going to the Chargers.
They could use him. I mean, they lost Keenan Allen and Mike Williams.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Losing Mike Williams is kind of a net zero. When he's on the field, he's amazing. When he's on the field.
Yeah.
It's something about that body type, just hard to not get injured in the NFL, apparently.
Yeah, they need weapons. They lost their big two. And Eckler. Hell, they need a lot.
Yeah.
Jim Harbaugh's got his hands full.
I like Austin Eckler.
Me too. Little man.
Yeah.
You got to represent.
He's a scrapper. He's honestly, from what I've seen, he's a little bit slow. Speed, not mentally, physically. He's quick. He's good for about 10 yards. Then he just seems to top out.
Well, if anybody wants to clip that from what Cody just said, we watched him for hours try to put the square peg in the round hole.
Yeah, we tested him recently. Yeah. He did not pass.
No, I agree with your assessment. Like he does not have great top end speed. There's not a lot of running backs. In fact, your best running back top end speed might be Derrick Henry when he can get
for sure
like ahead, like rolling downhill.
He's for sure the only one who's gonna score a 99-yard touchdown. Although that was 4 years ago now.
He's losing tread on the tires. I mean, he ain't getting younger. And Alabama ran him into the ground too.
Oh yeah,
which is why no one expected him to be able to do what he's done so far. But
did you see it was either Sports Center or ESPN? It was one of those posted on Instagram. His high school stats the other day. He had like 4,300 yards rushing his senior year. It was something insane. But he also had 40 plus carries a game in high school. But still averaged 10 plus yards a carry. It was the most insane stat sheet I'd ever seen for any position. And the thing is, his team still lost like 3 games that year.
Well, when you've got a stallion like that, man, you gotta run him. And it's funny. I walked by that guy
in high school.
I walked by that person many a time. I was on campus at Tuscaloosa for a while, and he looks like a big dude in street clothes, but like not intimidatingly large. And he carries himself like he generally was always by himself.
Yeah, which is probably good.
Yeah. In fact, I saw him in a couple of situations where he removes himself from a situation that could have gotten, it never did. Never saw anything crazy happen or anything. It seems responsible, this, that, or the other. And so also another reason why you would rely on him. But seeing him in football pads next to other people, he looks like a friggin' ogre.
There's that famous picture of him next to Mark Ingram.
Yeah,
who was a 220-pound. Mark Ingram is fairly short, but he's a 220-pound man. It just looks like a child. And Mark Ingram quietly retired in the offseason. You guys probably knew, but I was looking him up.
I was busy with a different retirement.
Well, 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was looking because I was like, I know he was with the Saints for so long. He'd been on the Ravens, and then he is officially retired as of now. And he's 1 year older than I am. But the good news is Julio Jones is 2 years older than I am, and he's still in the league.
Yeah.
He only had like 9 catches last year, but he had like 4 touchdowns, which is the opposite of the rest of his career. Because I started looking at his stats too, and he played almost exclusively inside the 20 last year.
Well, guys, we've been going for a little over an hour. I think this would be a good spot to kind of say our goodbyes. Y'all got any final thoughts?
I'm not going to say roll tide, but I guess good luck to y'all here in about 20 minutes. Because if they make the Elite Eight, that's fine. But I will not give you guys good luck after that.
Do any of us really expect them to win? I mean, I know it's possible.
I had
4.5 is a pretty tight spread. I think they could.
North Carolina's not the team that they were 10 years ago right now.
No.
But I did a bracket for work, and it fell apart because it all hinged on Auburn, actually, even as an Alabama fan.
Too.
I had them, like, that was the only way I was going to win is by picking differently than everybody else, and they lost immediately. But I did have Alabama going this far and losing to North Carolina. So we'll see if I get, 12 points for my bracket that's already destroyed.
Auburn and South Carolina destroyed mine.
Yeah, I think South Carolina messed mine up too, but the Auburn part was the main thing.
I quite literally didn't fill out a bracket this year because the only time that we've been to a Final Four, I did not do a bracket in 2019. And so I was like, good juju, knocking on all the wood, like not walking underneath ladders, break no mirrors.
I watched that game.
That you could do.
I watched that final game with you, and I saw the disappointment on your face and felt it. I mean, I was pulling for you too. That last shot with the foul against, that was right.
This team felt like it kind of had that kind of momentum. Obviously, it did not. And so this year, I had invitations to do brackets, and I was like, I'm not going to do one. So luckily, my bracket was not busted by any team. I have no bracket, but unluckily, it didn't pay off. But no, I think that Bama has actually a really good shot to win tonight. Would I pick them? No. I would actually say North Carolina by 2. I think it's going to be tight.
We had 41 people in the bracket I was in. It was just at work. I filled mine out about an hour before the first game of March Madness started. So through the first day and a half, I was in third out of 41, and then Auburn lost, and I was still in third, but my potential score had dropped so low that I had no chance. And then it just kept getting worse. I've had a lot of other losses since then, but that's how it goes. There was a guy in our league there was a guy in our league who had picked like 30. Well, not that far. He had picked like 30 of 32 winners to begin with, and he's now not even in the running.
Wow.
It just completely fell apart.
Yeah, it's not about the round of 64. It's about who goes deep.
I think he was under 1,000th in the world, and now will not win our bracket of 41. You never know.
I mean, this is the first time in 5 years, which is wild because it hadn't ever really happened other than like very here and there, where a 1 or a 2 seed wasn't upset by like a 15 or a 16.
Yeah. And
then this year, it pretty much went chalk. Me and Normie were talking. I don't know if you got to see it, Cody, but the only like non-chalky team, I mean, your highest seed is Clemson at 6, other than and also they knocked off
NC
Arizona.
State.
Is NC State at 11. Oh man, UConn's getting all over San Diego. Yeah, that game's over. Okay.
I picked UConn to go until they have to play somebody very evenly ranked.
Fair, like when
they always do.
If Auburn had won and then won again, that would be them in that position, and that might be. But man, it's just fun to go dancing. That's all. Like, you put on your nice suit, like you just want to go dancing.
I don't have a nice suit.
I don't matter. But no, I guess that's about it. Normie, March Madness is ramping up. I guess by next weekend or next show, it'll be the Final Four weekend, and we'll either be sitting here talking about what Alabama could or could not have done, or if UConn is that team. I mean, defending national champs, putting it on San Diego State. I mean, it's Clemson Cinderella. Is NC State a Cinderella? They gotta face a number 2 in Marquette. I don't know. I mean, it'll be fun to watch, and I'm finally in a place to where I can watch it again. I did not watch the round of 34 or 32 after Auburn lost.
Yeah,
I shut
they,
down.
They lost by 2, right? 2 or 3. Yeah.
And had the game in hand all game.
Yeah. It was a weird one.
Yep, it definitely was.
It is what it is.
Well, all right, guys. It's been fun. Cody, thank you for coming in, filling in for
thank y'all for having me. Sorry I rambled too much.
Oh no, you're fine.
About
honestly,
kickoffs.
You're welcome back anytime.
Of course.
Yep.
So,
yeah, I hear the nugget back there screaming, so I'm probably about to just walk around the house with a baby.
Alrighty,
that's the usual. So
give that nugget kisses for me.
I will.
But yeah, thank you everybody for watching, commenting. If you haven't already, hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe, and also hit the bell. So every time we go live, you'll get a notification. But thank y'all again for being here, and we will see y'all next time.
See y'all.